Good morning, afternoon, evening. Going to be looking at PaperKlay today. Continuing in my series of playing games that you sort of recommended or suggested based on you following the developers. So I had a lot of fun with Blood Thief the other day based on your recommendations, and today we're checking out PaperKlay.
I think Cloud Islands only live in, fairy tales. But aren't adventures also scary?
This is really pernickety, but there's like a gap between the sort of animation speed and the speaking speed that I find a little bit annoying, but it's a tiny detail. Character designs are delightful.
I don't know, but it's heading towards the village.
Look at those lovely cardboard textures. Really nice. Okay, so we've got the sort of two characters in one thing, one character's riding the other. The sort of side flop of this animation is really, really sweet. Really cute. This whole kind of, Mario 64 retro 3D platformer thing is a thing I've seen indies try to do before and failed because they didn't nail the basics of this, just this first moment of moving around and jumping. And I can already see from all of this that a lot of care and attention has gone into these basic set of mechanics. And this first area gives me so much to work with, just in terms of like proving to me that a lot of this game is going to be of a very high quality, right? Because all I'm doing, I've got a jump, a double jump, and a glide. That's available to me straight away, and it feels great. Got my Crash Bandicoot spin. I can go buck, because why not? And there's a mushroom there straight away for me to interact with. So it's being very generous with what it's showing me straight off. We've got some buttons, which go with the sort of everything is made of craft materials aesthetic, right? It's called PaperKlay. We've got cardboard, we've got buttons, we've got papercraft trees that fall over for some reason. It's delightful. Love these trees as well. Instead of just using the paper to make a tree, like using the qualities of a paper tree to be able to make a tree that's a interesting shape that does something for gameplay, like these trees that become weird sort of horseshoe shaped platforms, right? It's doing two things. It's giving us a tree for the environment, but it's a tree that actually works with the gameplay in some way. And that's enabled by the aesthetic of it being made of paper. Really nice. Sort of holistic design thinking about the aesthetic of the game and what it needs to do in terms of being a platformer and stuff like that. Lovely. That's a great mechanic. This spin, right? This spin is such a regular mechanic to use in one of these games. I associate it with Crash Bandicoot, and you probably have seen it in other things as well, but using it to unscrew something, I don't know if I've seen that before. Hello, flower. Look, I know we haven't always seen eye to eye, you and I. I'm just a chicken, and you're a flower, and we just don't have much in common. But the thing is, you're just so expressionless. And I find you really hard to read, You have what psychologists call a very flat affect. It's because you've got no mouth, you've got no eyebrows, you don't have the elements of a face that we usually use to express ourselves. And that means that I just never know where I stand with you. And at least, if you look at that daisy up there, on the hill, they're at least sort of emoting with their body language in a way that lets me know that they're pleased to see me, whereas you just have this like timid kind of sway to you. I can't tell whether it's because you're socially anxious or because you just don't like me. And maybe that's my problem, maybe that's not your problem to deal with, but I just want a bit more communication from you, because I feel like, I do a lot. I run around, I spin, I'm always jumping up and down, and I feel like I'm an open book. But you're just not very good communicator, The punchline to that bit was going to be, I spin and beat up the flower, but I don't think that's the tone we're going for, of just murdering innocent flower people. What's up here? Oh, yeah. I keep thinking I can't make a jump, and then I've got my double jump.
Over that platform. It looked quite fun.
That's a very cute way of writing the tutorial. Oh, earlier I saw someone do this. Oh, yeah, cool. It's very well paced as well. I don't know how long it took the developers to build this area.
Who do you think you are? Nothing stands in the way of Nox. Not a couple of tiny chickens. And certainly not this village.
Look at those clay textures. That's beautiful.
We can't reach him.
So we've got one character that wants to go on an adventure, one that doesn't, and now they've had the kind of heroes.
Look around for some eggs.
We've had this sort of hero's journey, call to action type thing of like, well, now you have to go on an adventure because the eggs have been taken. It's all just very classic stuff. What I was going to say before is I'd be interested to know about the development story of like this opening area. And, you know, there's the classic story about Mario, the first NES or Famicom Mario, where they made the first level last. Which is quite a typical way of developing something now. You know, you make the tutorial at the end once you know what people struggle with, right? And then you build your first area to teach the game based on everything you've observed in playtesting and stuff. I'd really be interested to know what order this game was built in, because you often don't know what your sort of first sort of tutorial space in your game is going to need until you've seen people play the game and seen what they need to learn. Because as a developer, you're too close to the game to know. What I'm really enjoying about this game so far is that, you know, you can look at this and think, oh, this is a beautiful game. But the attention to detail that's gone into all of the art style here is really mirrored in the actions that you do. Not just like the way the character looks, but how they feel to move. Like the jump is perfect. The jump, it feels so nice. And the thing that's really disappointing in the indie game space quite often is you'll see a video of a game and it looks beautiful, and then you pick it up and you get to hands-on with it and it doesn't feel good. And this feels gorgeous. That waterfall is beautiful. We've got a crotcheted froggy. Big froggy.
Oh yeah, we'll handle it. You'll have your family back together in no time.
If this was the Studio Ghibli movie version of this, then the little chicken, who I think is Nugget, would be voiced by Billy Crystal. Just makes sense. He's Calcifer in Howl's Moving Castle. He's Mike Lazowski in Monsters, Inc. And now he's this chicken nugget. I don't know how famous the actual voice actors from this game are. I know there's a big thing of using streamers and stuff in voices in your games now. A lot of us are performers and we like doing that sort of thing. If you want me to voice over a character in your game, then I might do it. If you give me a small amount of money and also make that character hot. Those are my conditions. That's such a gentle attack, and I don't mean that as like it feels weak. It feels great, right? That really fits the mood of the game to have that little spin. There's like a little sparky bash that both looks like a damaging thing to the enemies and sort of indicates that you've done something good. What is this guitar for? Is this to take to somewhere? I feel like this might be some sort of quest item, but I haven't had anyone ask me for a guitar yet. So I'm just going to throw it off the cliff. Bye, guitar. Bye. Some hippie's going to come along in a minute and say, I was going to play Drive by Incubus on that. Some of these jump distances are perfect. Like the sense of, I don't think I can make that, oh, I can, is quite strong. There's quite a lot of really well-based jumps. It's got this real playground feel to the level design where, like, every platform I get on, when I look to see where I can go next, it's very rarely doing the same thing like 3 times in a row. You know, like, oh, you do this type of jump and then you do it 3 times. It's like, no, you climb up this thing and then you jump across these things. It's really got a kind of playground feel to the whole design of the space. Really going for a lot of different sort of diversity in the types of things you do as you move around the space. I really enjoy that. Really got to kind of move the camera around a lot to look for the opportunities that are here. Very low peril. So far, not many places I can fall and die. And it's really less about trying to do really hard stuff and more about looking for opportunities. Is this land on a ball? Yeah, there's coins over there. Are you a frog or a snail or... Hello? Turtle. I'm just going to hang out under here. You know, I would love a sit down button. I can just sit down and chill here for a minute. This was one of the recommendations from one of my posts the other day. I was asking for demos that people were interested to see played that had been, you know, publicly developed on YouTube kind of thing. I've had a mixed bag of games recently, and I think Fade, that I played last week, was so disappointing in terms of the game feel. And this has been a good week, because we've had Blood Thief, and then we've had this. Two very different games, but they both share a sort of really holistic approach to like designing the aesthetic of the game and making it work with the gameplay. I find that really interesting. Like, developers that go for a stylized thing often also have a really good sense of how things should move and interact, right? Because they're thinking of the game holistically. Developers that try and make something that look really polished and or realistic often just kind of think they're making a simulation of life, and they're just like, how high should a character jump? Probably however high someone can jump in real life. And it's like, no, you're designing a game, particularly with action games. If you think of what you're doing as a sort of interactive cartoon, then you just have a better sense for how things should move and interact, because that's what cartoons do. Hello. Are you a friendly bun bun?
Oh, if only I could hold her in my arms again.
Very small UX tip for when you're doing narrative stuff like this. I would split that text into two, because the more frequently you break the text up and allow the player to press next, the less stuff they will skip. Whereas if you have like big paragraphs like this, then they're more likely to skip through it and then not hear your voice acting and stuff like that. If you kind of limit this to being 2 lines and cut it in half.
Wait a minute. Are you talking about your guitar?
Do you mean the guitar that I threw off a cliff earlier? Because hopefully that's still reachable. I can't promise anything. Mama? So we can't double jump when we're carrying the bubba.
Mama?
Now I'm quite disoriented about where to go. Oh, here we go. Can we eat him? He doesn't count as found, even though I just threw him on his mother. You see the UI was getting a bit stuck between the two talk to mama or pick up the baby there. You see the pickup is appearing behind the talk? Very small stuff.
Mama?
Feed grandpa. He's going to want these fliegen, these flies, isn't he? They're quite robust flies. They've got a big old badonkadonk on them. Craney said, what's your day job? I used to work at game studios as a game designer, like an employee. I've worked at 3 different studios full time like that. And then I used to be a lecturer, which is why I have a doctorate. And yeah, at the moment, most of my income comes from freelance game design, like consulting. So there will be a team that's making a game, and they maybe have like a creative lead and an artist and a programmer. And those people need some help on like making the gameplay make sense, or balancing the economy, or designing the UI, or just doing all the parts of game design that people struggle with. And a lot of my day job is really kind of filling in that gap in the team for other teams. So I used to do that full time, and now I do YouTube and make some income from Patreon as well to run this channel, because people like there being, I guess, design-focused game dev content on YouTube, because a lot of the dev content on YouTube is like someone programming and going, here's how I learned how to make a guy jump. So Seamus in the chat just said the flies look like they're from some weird 80s cartoon. I'm pretty sure that this is the weird 80s cartoon that you're thinking of. And this is a cartoon that was kind of old when I was a kid already, but I remember just like being like finding it delightful and disturbing at the same time because it was genuinely strange. Yeah, they do look like the flies from that. I don't know if that's where they got the design or if it's just convergent evolution.
Frogs like me caught flies without any help.
Yeah, I had a moment there where it's like, how do I interact with these flies? So it's basically I had to...
Frogs like me caught flies without any help.
I had to pick the grandpa up first. He doesn't have a munch sound when he eats the flies.
Frogs like me caught flies without any help.
Very repetitive dialogue line. Is this a spinner? Yeah! Is that going to gradually fall down or does it stay up? No, it stays up, I think. Yeah, the double shadows on the coins are really kind of off-putting. It's like the one underneath helps you to locate the coin and then the other one is directional, but it just feels a bit strange. They're like different colours as well, right? Like that's a shadow within a shadow. But I would say it's always a good sign when the feedback on your game is really pernickety little stuff like weird shadows or something, right? So the more specific the feedback starts to get, the more you know that there aren't really any big issues. But yeah, look, I've got that shadow under my character and then that shadow over there. It feels odd to have both and it feels odd that they are different colours.
I think so. It wasn't until the 5th kid that I realized how little time for myself I have.
Alfred. Great name.
I don't even remember my name. All I hear is Dada. Daddy. Dad. 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 Daddy.
They're saying mama though, they're not saying dada.
Mama?
They're saying mama. I can hear them right now. Frederick is relating to the sleep deprived owl dad. Yeah, I'm very lucky mine are older now. I've got a 9 and a 13. When they're little, you have to you have to run around and collect them in a 3D world, which this game is simulating very well. Mama went for some milk. She never came back. These ones aren't like quest babies. We're just looking for eggs. There's some real game dev dad humor going on in the chat right now. When you have 8 kids, it starts to break the rigid body physics engine already. Was that to do with... Is that real life or is it to do with these owl children? I don't know. Who knows? At some point this channel is just going to become a support group for people with children that are trying to make a game. Game dev dads. Wreck my demographic numbers already. To be fair, I think we have about... The audience for this channel is about 7% female or something like that. Yeah, if I change the channel name to Game Dev Dads, I don't know whether that number would go up or down. Indie Dad Clinic. So, if you've just tuned in, we're about to finish the stream. I think this is a lovely game. I think it's a very good example of a game in this genre. I think it's going to set the bar, actually. So, if you're making a third-person cutesy platformer, and it's not as good as this, then just stop. That's the moral of the story. You know, not to be negative or anything, but this is set the bar now. And if you can't reach that bar, you just do something else. Make a different type of game. Yeah, genre over. They did it. The genre has been resolved. And let's end the stream with holding a baby in a fire. Thank you for joining. I'm streaming every Tuesday and Thursday for the next couple of weeks. Just checking out demos of indie games that look interesting. This is Indie Game Clinic, the only channel on YouTube where you can watch a middle-aged man with a PhD hold a baby over a fire while someone plays out of tune guitar in the background. I hope that's what you're into, because that's the sort of thing you're going to get. And if you're not into that, other channels are available. And I might just leave this, I might just turn my camera off, and those of you who appreciate this as a sort of ambient channel can just have half an hour of this at the end.